me to just bring you.
How was it?
Good. All right. Nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here. You're here with Ironwood?
Yes.
I'll go and say hello. But yeah, it'll be a few minutes. I know, I thought it was mine, but I was like, where's the laptop? I didn't realize the screen was broke.
Oh, that's no fun. Good afternoon. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of, November 19th, 2025. My name is Tim Rainey. I'm chairman of the board. Mr. Jeffrey Penzis serves as secretary of the board. Mr. Penzis, may I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bruce.
Present.
Mr. Campbell.
Present.
Ms. Conrad.
Present.
Present.
Vice Chair Savage Selden.
Present.
And Chair Rainey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is the oldest appointed governmental body in Memphis and Shelby County. We were established in 1925. The board hears appeals from the administration of the zoning ordinance, requests for variances from the zoning ordinance, and other requests articulated by local zoning laws adopted pursuant to the enabling legislation. The 8 members of the board are appointed, 4 by the mayor of Memphis and 4 by the mayor of Shelby County, with confirmation by the Memphis City Council or Shelby County Board of Commissioners. We serve without remuneration. At this time, I'd like to swear in the staff. You may remain seated. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a secretary's report, if there is one this month, and then explain the procedure for today's meeting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As for Secretary's report, there are no announcements this afternoon. The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda can be found at the front podium. For each case, the planner with the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, those speakers in support will have a total of 5 minutes, then those speakers in opposition will have a total of 10 minutes, and then finally the applicant will have 2 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the board. The chairman may provide additional time, provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the board will be sworn in by the chairman. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD staff member at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicant since their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the board will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. If the applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing, or if a board member wishes to hear additional testimony from any party, a 2/3 vote is required to reopen the public hearing pursuant to the board's rules of procedure. Please note that once the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and opposition will be allowed to provide additional testimony and or rebuttal. All motions by this board will be made in the affirmative. The private acts governing the board require the affirmative vote of at least 5 members to approve an application, regardless of the number of board members present. The board may also vote to hold an application for a period not to exceed 3 months with the consent of the applicant or 1 month without the consent of the applicant. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Memphis and Shelby County Unified Development Code, or the UDC, which was adopted by the Memphis City Council and Shelby County Board of Commissioners in August of 2010 and became effective on January 1st, 2011. I will introduce the entire UDC and make it part of today's record, thus dispensing with the reading of individual sections. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases before us today under the provisions of Chapter 9.22 of the UDC. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled as required by the UDC.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, the board will establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the Secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience, staff, or board member objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands when the Secretary reads that case. Once the consent agenda is established, the board will vote on all cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole, will not hold individual public hearings on each case. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda today are eligible to be placed on consent?
First, I would just like to note that item 1 has been withdrawn. Item number 2, BOA 2025-116 at 261 Blairmore Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 3, BOA 2025-104 at 1016 Seattle Street as approval with conditions. Item number 5, BOA 2025-101 at 898 North 3rd Street as approval with conditions. Item number 6, BOA 2025-109 at 7391 Easterly Lane as a hold for 1 month. And lastly, item number 9, BOA 2025-113 at 415 Walker Avenue as approval with conditions.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the Secretary, which is items 2, 3, 5 as conditioned by staff, 6 as a hold, and 9 as conditioned by staff?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I want to remind the board by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Selden,
Yes, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
and Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. So if you're here for agenda items 2, 3, 5, 6, and 9, you've been either approved or held as requested. Mr. Secretary, will you read the first case we're going to hear on our regular agenda today?
Item number 4, BOA 2025-99 at 3734 Ironwood Drive.
Okay, is the applicant present?
We actually just had a phone call with the applicant. They were going to request a hold for 1 month.
Okay.
We were able to make the hearing.
All right, so would anybody from the board give us a motion to hold?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. So held for 1 month. All right, you'll call our next case.
Item number 7, BOA 2025-111 at 7523 Torrey Hill Lane.
Okay, is the applicant present on this case?
Yes.
On Torrey Hill, okay. And is there any opposition? Okay, so the applicant will just kind of come down forward. You're right there. You can stay right there, and we'll get a staff report, and then we'll have you come up. All right, if you can give us a staff report, please.
Joseph Culvert with TPD. This is for BOA case 205-0111. The applicant is Tanya Pressgrove, and the location is 7523 Torrey Hill Lane. She's requesting a variance to allow a driveway not extending 20 feet past the front facade after the proposed enclosure of the existing carport into livable space, and additionally a variance to allow a front yard parking pad. A little context, we can see she's kind of in the northeast part of the city, just south of Bartlett. On the October 30th, we had 98 notices mailed out within 500 feet of the property. This zoning is residential single-family 6. As you can see on your left, the land use map is overwhelmingly single-family. And here's an aerial view of the property. As you can see, she's sort of in the towards the end of, I think there's 3 cul-de-sacs right there that make up that part of the neighborhood. Site photos here. On the left, you can kind of see her house in the background there. And then below, you can see more of a perpendicular shot, or parallel shot rather. And then on the right-hand side, there's an overhead view where you will note a couple of large trees in the front and back of the property. She did submit a site plan that shows on the bottom of the page, that's the front street, and on the right-hand side of the home is where the carport would be enclosed. This does not show the trees in the backyard. It's worth noting. Here's some elevations. The top part is the side elevation as from the neighbor's yard, and then the front is the partial front elevation of the part of the carport she'd like to take in. And there's a brief little floor plan right there showing one bedroom. And it looks like a half bath being built as well. By enclosing the carport, the property would no longer adhere to UDC Clause 4.4.A. The driveway would terminate at the front facade of the home and no longer at the required 20-foot mark past the front facade. Thus, all parking would need to take place on the driveway between the front of the home and the street, which would then trigger the need for a variance 4.5.2C1D to allow the remaining driveway to act as a front yard parking pad. Now, it's worth noting there are at least 4 other homes in this subdivision with converted garages and carports, resulting in driveways that do not extend 20 feet past the front facades. These are all less than 500 feet of the subject property. No permits for these conversions could be found, and it is staff's belief that these are all built illegally. It's also worth noting the applicant mistakenly submitted the variance request with technically unsuitable answers to the findings of fact questions, citing personal family hardship as opposed to practical difficulties or undue hardship resulting from any unusual characteristics of the property. Because we are recommending rejection, staff was advised to continue with the request as is, as opposed to having the applicant resubmit. So our conclusions, to paraphrase the UDC item, parking pads are prohibited in the front yard unless they're 50 feet back from the public right-of-way with adequate landscaping. I believe the front facade of the house is right at 50 or 49 feet from the street. And so it's worth noting that item 4, alternate build options for the applicant that we suggested would include an addition to the rear of the home or a detached accessory dwelling unit in the backyard. So staff recommends rejection. However, if approved, staff recommends the condition that any change or deviation from the site plan upon determination of the zoning administrator shall be submitted to the Board of Adjustment for review and approval, or administrative review and approval by the Division of Planning and Development. And I realized I forgot to mention that I did receive 3 letters of support from 2 neighbors across the street and 1 directly next door, and there were no letters of dissent.
Okay. All right, are there any questions for staff? All right, well done, thank you. If the applicant will come forward, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, and then we'll swear you in.
Tanya Pressgrove, and my address is 7523 Torrey Hill Lane.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and share with us, Ms. Pressgrove.
Well, the reason I'm wanting to enclose it is my mother got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, and she's going downhill pretty fast. And I brought her to live with me because she could no longer live by herself. But I don't have enough room in my house because my daughter and grandchildren live with me. I'm sleeping in the recliner in the living room so that she can have my bedroom. So I want to enclose the carport, not only to get her a bedroom, but so she'll be safer. And I can have the medical equipment I need. Like I've got a hospital bed right now, but I can't bring it to my house because it won't fit. And she's eventually going to need a lift to get her out of bed. And she needs a bathroom that's equipped for the handicapped. And so, like I said, there's 4 other houses in my neighborhood that their carport's been enclosed. And really nobody on my street uses their carport or their garage except for filling it up with stuff, for storage. So, and in the backyard, I have 2 huge trees. So there's no way for me to add on to the back yard's not really big enough. So I'm just asking if you please let me enclose it and let me take care of my mom.
Have you looked at how expensive it would be if you tried to build off the back and have to cut those trees down and stuff like that?
I haven't, but
curious.
these trees are
I can see,
huge.
I'm looking at the map, they're big.
They're huge.
Yeah. Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Again, I'll ask to see if there's any opposition in this case. Didn't see any. All right, so if we could get a motion to approve BOA, 2025-011 as conditioned by staff.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Trying to make sure I'm understanding. So we are just simply enclosing the garage.
If they close the garage,
and then
it
doing an
forces,
addition?
it forces the parking in front of the house, even though they park in front of the house probably anyway, because people don't use their garages and carports.
And is this house right beside it? Is that
Just a garage, yeah.
just, it'll basically be what that is?
Well, no, it's, I mean, it's gonna, it's not, it will be an actual room with windows there. It won't just be a garage door. Like it would be a full.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it'll be interior of the house now.
Okay, that's right.
And yeah, so,
The
yeah,
whole
not just a
bedroom.
door. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know.
I get,
Go ahead.
I guess for me, the question is, in the exterior part, can they not make it look more like a, I guess, have a facade of a garage or something of that nature? I know the,
I don't think that would matter.
But then that leads to the question, why would you? I mean, like, an actual facade is actually more attractive than
the
a
actual.
garage. I think it's more about the usage at this point of using it as a parking pad. And I mean, on a very basic level, it's the same thing. If you were, that's why I was wondering, are we adding additional square footage to this, or is it just basically making it a room? But
Yeah, no new square footage to the footprint of, like, the roof of the house.
it's basically
We'll have heated space,
You're gonna add more condition space and.
Yeah, the site plan shows like, you know, 2 windows with shutters on the front of that to look like the rest of the house.
So the question is what you asked about. It seems like the way to add on room to the house for the grandmother with and be in compliance with the code is to add the room to the back of the house instead of to the garage. I know she said there's a tree there, but I wonder. It seems like that's the best answer to me. Just cut the tree down and add the room onto the back. That way you're in compliance with the code.
That makes sense. I don't disagree fully. I do like to save trees when I can. I like big mature trees. I think Memphis is known for it. I love them. I'd be willing to take those trees being there, blocking her ability to move in the backyard, being a unusual condition to make this more unique than just a blank piece of property. So that's what I'm thinking I might hang my hat on this variance. But that's a tough call. Because you make a lot of sense.
This makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Other thoughts?
No, I think that's the only reasonable thought.
My concern is, once we do this, and I know each property has its own footprint, will this cause an issue
Future
for future?
people who want to come down and do the same thing. And that's kind of what I was looking at. Like So the house beside it is an enclosed garage. The house on both sides are enclosed garage. I was trying to kind of go down this street just to see what other conditions were there.
Well, there are, I think it was said that there are some houses in the neighborhood that have, done what she's trying to do. They just didn't get permission to
Right.
do it.
I would say also for clarity, by enclosed garage, we don't mean garage door. Because I think the ones like next to them, enclosed, they just have a garage door. They're not actually enclosed.
Yeah. So I guess what I was getting at is trying to see who else would be in a situation where they can even make that trans. I guess all of them could if they decided they wanted to make that enclosed garage a room, and we'll be inclined to say yes. So I guess the biggest difference would be, I mean, the biggest concern really is how it becomes a parking pad now at the front of the house if you do that.
Correct.
Even though historically more people probably park on that part of the house all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going down the street. Everybody parks on the street.
It's interesting that, like, looking at those streets, at least the first couple, the closer you get to the end of the cove, the more people are parked in the driveways. And the more you get to the end of the street, and this is just the overhead of when they happen to take the picture, those tend to be just empty driveways, and then the ones in the coves tend to be full driveways. And the next street's not the same then. I mean, there's not really. Mm-hmm.
I think the nearest two examples where you can see where they were enclosed is just if you go east to the intersecting street, and then on the east side of that street, there's like two right next to each other.
I think this is one of them too, right?
Yeah.
They made it a whole little separate suite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not as good as the one. That one. It's a tough one because there's a rule against doing it, but in actual principle of use, it doesn't.
Everybody's parked in the driveway.
It doesn't
anyway.
bother me from a point of, is it gonna like be detriment to the neighborhood? I guess that's the question.
Can I ask a question, staff? Do you have something that shows the dimensions of the existing driveway today?
Let's see. Okay. This doesn't show.
But so on the site plan on page 11, I think it shows the max addition area as, 19 feet, 10 and a half inches, and the driveway looks like it might be like 1 or 2 feet, maybe
Yeah.
2 feet
That's right.
less narrow. So, generally the maximum driveway width is 16 feet at the right of way, so perhaps it's 16 feet,
Yeah.
if I had to guess.
And the front of the house, the front of that part of the house is 44 feet from the right of way. So, and what y'all are saying is that to have a parking pad, the pad itself should be 50 feet under code, correct?
Correct.
Any other thoughts before we vote?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I understand the hesitance to set a precedence here. I'm trying to think of some conditions that we can impose to kind of mitigate that, kind of have somewhat of a threshold that another applicant would have to come to. I don't know what that is right now, but I think the trees in the backyard are a hardship, I think. But I definitely understand the issue of not setting the precedent.
Well, if the trees are a hardship, that's the hurdle that other applicants would have to
Right.
clear.
Yeah, that was a picture on the report that kind of gave a little more clarity.
Can we have our mics on?
In this driveway, I mean, what's a car like? You say they're 15 feet long normally?
About 9 wide, 8.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 4 easily, with it being 44 feet.
Look at page 8. That kind of gives it. You can kind of see 2 cars.
Yeah, there's 2, and then there's a little space at the back, but it'd be tough to get another one in there. All right, any other thoughts? We got 6. Would you see the site plan?
Can we speak into our microphones
Yeah.
at the end, please?
Go to page 12, Greg. Yeah, I'm a big fan of brick, but there's already so much siding on the house. So, I mean, it actually fits the house better not to be brick there, because they just have, looking at that house, the middle piece has some brick, but the sides, everything else is,
And it looks like they gave a little offset to it. So
Yeah.
Just like flat across.
yeah, I like a garage. I like to park in my garage, but half the people in my neighborhood don't.
I got a 3-car garage and only 1 car.
Only one car fits.
I swear.
Yeah, I don't really know, Greg, what condition I could add to this that would hey, it must always be this. I know what you mean. It's more like what kind of guidelines do we need to be thinking about on the next one more than conditions on this, but I don't know what that would be.
I think, and I'd like staff to comment on this, but I think it's a couple reasons why there's requirement on these driveways and the garage. I think one is to cut down on vehicular clutter. Number one, that's probably the biggest thing, and to not overload the public right-of-way with cars as well. But I think if 4 vehicles can fit on that pad, I don't know how many cars that you typically have, but it's probably not more than 4, is it?
I only have my car there, but
Yeah.
even if I enclose it, I can still fit 4 cars.
Are we?
I'm sorry.
I don't mean to
I'm
cut
sorry,
you off.
Mr. Chairman.
We're not supposed to talk back to you once we go to this, but just letting you know.
That's my fault, Mr. Chairman.
no,
I
it's
was
fine. That's
I was
fine.
looking right
Yeah.
at it, but that's my point.
Let me ask you about, so with the whole parking pad thing, it's not necessarily against zoning to park your car anywhere in your garage. You're not supposed to have a house built where it doesn't have the 2 parking spots more than 50 feet back or in a garage. Is that correct?
Correct. And I think Mr. Love kind of got to the
Yeah.
point of why it's encouraged. But
Yeah.
right, there's nothing that would say you can't then park in your driveway.
But we try to build things that allow parking behind a certain space or in a garage. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Any other thoughts? All right, Mr. Secretary, will you give us a roll call, please?
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Miss-
sorry.
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Selden,
Yes, I find that the standard of the UDC of 9.22.6 will be met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
and Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. You've been approved.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Don't cut those trees down, though.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, will you call our next case, please?
Item number 8, BOA 2025-112 at 3650 Tulane Road.
Okay, and is the applicant here? Okay, if y'all want to come down a little closer to the front, and then opposition? Okay, you'll come down too, okay. All right, if we could get a staff report, please, Ms. Estandia, sorry.
Good afternoon, Masano Stadnia with DPD. This is BOA 2025-0112. It is located at 650 Tulane Road. The request is a use variance to allow an impound lot and also a variance from item 263P1D to allow storage of inoperable vehicles that are closer than 50 feet away from a single-family residential use. The existing zoning is employment. Here is a location map of the subject property. The property is in southwest outside Memphis city boundaries. And this is an aerial picture of the subject property. The applicant owns this portion, which is like 13 acres, and they are intending to use this portion of the property for this request. The zoning is employment as mentioned above, and the land use is a mixture of residential, industrial, and also vacant lots. And here you can see a few pictures of the site. And here is the site plan that the applicant submitted to us, showing which portion of the property they are using for this request. Based on our analysis, this site requires to be screened in all sites because it is abutting some residential zoning districts. And staff believes this case can be approved with conditions. We have 3 conditions. The first and main one is that the subject property needs to be screened on all sides, and they would need to use a Class 3 Type C buffer for the west side of the public right of the way, and also Tulane Road needs to be screened by streetscape plates S10, and also the storage shall maintain a minimum of 15-foot setback from the right of the way. Second, the applicant needs to submit a site plan and also a landscape plan to the Division of Planning and Development for approval. And last, any change or deviation needs to be approved by the Board of Adjustment. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions of staff? Okay, if the applicant will come up and we'll hear what you guys have to say. And if you'll give your name and address for the record.
You want the location address or?
Either one, it's just for the record. So we have either where you live or where you work. It's is fine.
Okay, yes, sir. So the business is located at 6,000 Poplar Avenue. That's the mailing address. My name is Marcus O'Bannon.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
It says.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so we plan on using this location for a towing storage lot. We did do a little research on it. The entire property is 13 acres. The existing lot that we plan on using is about 725 feet from the residential side. That's to the edge of the location in which we're planning on using. The back portion, the east portion of that property is wooded. So it's a landlocked use on the back portion or east portion of the entire property, which is 13 acres. It is landlocked. On the front of the location, there's nothing but warehouses and things of that nature. We feel like this is a good location to use because there's no foot traffic. There's really no residential traffic coming through the two-lane road portion. And again, like I said, the eastern portion of it is landlocked and it is wooded as well. But again, we only plan on using the northeast portion, which is about an acre, not the entire 13-acre lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to pull it up on my map. Bear with me for a second. Sorry. What is the rest of the property? Where the dirt is up there? What are you using that for?
Right now, currently, that property is being utilized with another company.
Okay.
Not sure what what exactly. All I know is they're doing truck parking and things of that nature over there. They're, hauling some dirt here and there, but I'm not sure what that company actually does in the city.
Gotcha. And then, sorry, I'm trying to get this up on my GIS map, and it's not cooperating at all. It won't let me search, and I'm having to do it by hand. And how far is the back of the towing parking lot from the residential?
725.8 feet.
Mr. Chairman, just one point of clarity on that. That would measure to the house that exists, the nearest house.
Gotcha.
But basically on the point where the yellow meets the property line, where the yellow means his subject property, it's around 300 feet.
Okay. So had it been 500 feet to the property line, we would not be here, correct?
We would still be here for the storage of the inoperable vehicles, but we would not be here from the 500 feet.
Okay. Go back. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay. We're going to reserve some time because you get to rebut. We're going to hear from the opposition, and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Okay. How much? Okay. All right. Ma'am, if you'd like to come up, Miss Gideon. I think that's you. If you'll give your name and address for the record.
I'm Stephanie Gideon, and I work for Olenbeck USA at 1004 East Brooks Road.
Okay. And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and see it, Gideon.
Okay. Olenbeck's position on this is that this type of establishment brings blight and crime with it. Our tenant is Pandral, and they sit at 611 Winchester, which is in front of this. And they're also part of the Brownfield program, and they get vapor testing annually at this establishment at Pandral. And we don't want any type of vapors or anything messing up our testing over there. Really, that's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And so and just so I know, the property you're representing here, due north, like that little piece of concrete we can see is your property, right? To the left?
To the left.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
Still trying to zero in on it all right, I see that right there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep,
So
Mr. Bruce.
you said you're concerned about vapors. What kind of business do you have on your client's lot?
They manufacture railroad parts.
Okay, and the vapors,
The vapor testing, I'm not sure why there's vapor testing. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
don't know. But it is performed, like they were just tested this week, and that's performed annually. And it's part of the Brownfield program.
okay, thank you.
I've got a question for staff on that. So I'm not a big brownfield expert, but that's where there used to be, isn't that typically where there used to be some sort of use on the property that wasn't the most environmentally friendly? So it's not necessarily what the people are doing now, but they're still just making sure that off-gassing from that prior use and what's been covered up is doing what it's supposed to, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But because they occupy that, they're kind of, they can't be there if it's too bad.
Right, and I guess, right, if you buy it, you've inherited whatever's there. And
Correct.
sometimes they have agreements with TDAC, and that's usually who's doing the monitoring and maintaining.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions before we go back to our applicant? All right, the applicant will come up. So I think we could start, so it's inoperable vehicles, like, is this like a junkyard, or is this just where cars are towed after a wreck? Like,
Yes.
what how long do you think those vehicles would be there?
So, most parts, the vehicle shouldn't be there more than 30 days. But more time than not, most vehicles stay there a week or two. But we don't plan on having any vehicles there for an extended period of time. 30 to 60 days is the max limit, but we don't plan on having any vehicles there more than 30 days. And it's more of, like you said, inoperable vehicles other than a junkyard. So it won't be people coming on the lot to get parts and things like that. It wouldn't be nothing like that. And
Yeah, this is you have a wreck, it has to be towed by the city, it goes there.
It
or
goes to their
something like
yard
that. Yeah.
until the insurance adjuster comes out, and then the vehicle get moved to a collision center.
Okay.
So what kind of, just trying to make sure I got a clear picture on the people that will be there. Will there be any employees?
It'll be
Station
mainly
lot.
employees. We don't do any tollaways, like apartment tollaways, so it won't be a lot where you have people constantly coming up because their vehicle was towed from like an apartment complex for illegal parking and things like that. It'll mainly be more insurance adjusters coming out to look at the wreckage to the vehicle, and then it'll be towed from there to a collision center for repair or, whatever they decide to do at that point.
I see, but no customers coming
No.
to buy things, okay.
Yeah, no, we don't suspect any customers to be at that location.
Okay.
And if so, very few.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any sort of monitoring of your site by having these vehicles on it that takes place by like them dropping, a gas tank leaking? Like, is there any oversight to you from an environmental standpoint?
No, but we typically don't pick up any vehicles that have like leaking gas. That'll be standing gas or oil leaks. I mean, we typically try to get those cleaned up prior to, putting them on the lot.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
What's the capacity of cars that can fit on this lot, and how many do you
Right
typically
now-
have at any given time?
Right now, that lot is big enough to hold about 124 cars, but we're definitely not trying to have 100 cars at one time at that lot, because our plan is for them to come on and leave out as soon as possible. So it's not like a junkyard, so to speak. It just be for the insurance company. Once someone have a wreck, the insurance company typically move pretty quickly depending on, the customer, but we don't plan on having them there for, extended period of time.
So what happens in the event that a car is not claimed or something happens where
Well,
it's
if
fully
we-
totaled? Are you all responsible for taking it to its next location, junkyard, or?
Yes, so let's say if a customer have an accident and the vehicle is irreparable and the insurance company deem it total, it probably won't be at our lot if it's total because the collision center typically is the people who total out the vehicle for the insurance company. So once we get an order to move the vehicle to a collision center to be inspected, from there, the insurance company say, hey, this vehicle is total, and it'll leave their facility going, to its destination.
Do you ever have vehicles that are not towed to a collision center, vehicles that just end up stuck on your lot?
No, from our experience, we haven't had that. I do know that they do happen from time to time, but any unclaimed vehicle, there's a process that we have to go through in order to, I think it's a 30-day process for unclaimed vehicle, and from that point, once we, go through the necessary channels, the vehicle, then becomes property of ours, and we typically would take them to a junk or salvage yard.
Okay, thank you.
Would you be okay if there was a condition that no cars could be there more than 90 days?
Yes, I wouldn't mind that at all.
All right. And then, what now?
Are you considering limiting the vehicles no more than 100 vehicles? I think you mentioned that, but, or did you want to not even have to deal with?
I wasn't thinking that, but I have no problem with that. Okay, could we limit the number of vehicles to 100?
To 100, sure. I mean, we don't plan on having that many vehicles at one time at that lot. I mean, you can never look into the future and tell what's going on, but our plan is not to have 100 cars there. The 100 cars is just a recommendation for the city to actually have a tow lot of this magnitude. They say you must be able to store 100 cars, but I think there's a limit. Once the vehicle has been unattended for 30 days, then once we file the necessary paperwork, then the vehicle becomes in our possession, and we don't want to hold on to it for that long.
Right, okay. And then, Mr. Love?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think part of what I would like to see is, as we kind of look for ways to kind of condition what this site looks like in operation, maybe a condition that at no time will cars be at the front of the property. Sometimes, somebody might bring you a late, might be late in the evening. What are the hours? Maybe I'll start from there.
Right now, we're only open from 6 a.m. to midnight.
But it looks junky, right?
But we don't do any drop-offs, if that's what you mean. So you're saying like some tow yards have somebody bring a car and just drop it on the front of the property. That won't be allowed at our location.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we add a no after-hours drop-offs? Because, we know how you may operate. Our issue is when we approve it, if you sell the business or do something else, we've said such things could happen. So that's why we have to kind of rein these conditions in.
Okay.
To try to get, hopefully they fit what you're doing, but somebody that wanted to run a junkyard, it doesn't work for them. So it doesn't open it up to be something that you're not intending it to be right now.
Okay.
So, let's see. And we'll get to all those.
Just to kind of bag up my colleague, Mr. O'Bannon. So once we make this approval runs with the land. So it's not just for you and how you're going to operate your business, but, after you become a multimillionaire and decide to do something else, if somebody wants to start in your footsteps, they might not have the same operational ideas that you have. So
Understood.
conditions will run with the land.
Understood. I have one question. So this approval will be for the entire property? So it's 13 acres, 13 point,
It would only be this area highlighted in yellow.
Correct.
Okay.
It's only for that, yeah.
okay.
I'm trying to think of something to help alleviate the concerns of the opposition for when they already have like environmental monitoring going on there. And I'm trying to think of what we can do. I mean, in general, they can't, it would be illegal for them to let like noxious fumes off their yard onto the neighboring yard, I think. But
Presumably, but I have no knowledge of
right, yeah.
those kind of things.
But they are being monitored because they're doing testing, right? Or is that up on
The neighbors being monitored. So you hate for, let's say it's like, you know, just making, it's collecting gas of some sort, but he's actually getting the fumes from the cars because there's gas in tanks or something, is what you worry about.
I suppose at minimum, right, they would have monitoring before this use was there, and now they would have monitoring after this use was there to know if this use is causing some issue on them, and then whatever means to rectify that, I guess they would.
What about this use shall cause no change in environmental status to surrounding properties?
So I guess that could be interpreted very broadly.
Yeah.
And let's say there are rules that say you can't go above X level, but under X level are okay. Well, with that condition, now we've changed the rules.
I can't imagine that the vapors would be any different than cars driving up and down the road right now. I don't understand what
It's one of those things I just don't
additional
know.
vapors
Yeah.
would be.
I guess that's true in the sense these cars wouldn't be running.
Right, they're off. I just,
Well, if a gas tank's leaking, now gas is going into the ground, going into the groundwater. You know, so
right, but I mean, that's the same as oil leaking from a car driving down I mean.
And also, that's a concreted pad, so I don't see if there was a gas leak, I don't see it seeping into the ground.
I think the concern from the opposition is just, well, first of all, the monitoring that's happening on the opposition's property, that's typically something that's decided on after a property has been remediated or has been declared to have some type of environmental issue. So that continued monitoring, and typically it's going to be ground monitoring, or there are going to be components in the dirt to test that site specifically. That's just common procedure for any property that, you know, I don't see how this property could affect that.
I agree.
And let's just say it did. Let's say somebody builds a gas station, has an oil spill there or something. I think that property that's affected by it has a cause of action against where that came from. So I think they're protected there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
If we could get a motion to approve BOA 2025-112 as conditioned by staff.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and so I would like to add the following conditions. So number 4, vehicles cannot remain at the site any more than 90 days. 5, no cars may be dropped off, you know, outside of the property or outside of business hours, both those. And then 6, no more than 100 vehicles are allowed to be stored at the site. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, on the 100 vehicles, I think he said that he has to be able to store a minimum of 100 vehicles.
Let's do
And now
105.
I'm sorry, what?
105.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, we're imposing a maximum that's pretty narrow. I would, just wanted to see if we can get, it seems like we should allow
You go ahead.
that number to be up.
I think the applicant said maybe, what did he say around 124?
Yeah.
124 is like the number of spots.
Yeah.
on it.
So I mean, was thinking 120 before you threw a number out there.
Yeah.
Just, take into account, he's got to have that minimum, so give him some cushion above that.
He's personally not going to achieve that number based on what he's saying. So, I mean, if somebody goes up to 120 spots in a parking lot that can hold 125, they're still not exceeding. So, I mean.
Okay. Any objection to it being 120?
No objection.
Hearing none, so 120. Anything else? Okay, Mr. Pensis, you can give us a